AMCP, we've been looking at that, especially for the last 3 years. In 2021, as we completed a strategic planning exercise, one of the priorities that rose to the very top of our list, in fact, just one of three, was to address disparities in medication use and access that existed among some populations. Minority populations, which, of course, the pandemic really shined a light on the disproportionate impact minority populations experienced from the pandemic, and also their disproportionate access to healthcare and affordability challenges and all the other issues that certain populations were facing. Certainly patients that are lower on the socioeconomic scale have significant challenges in being able to access medicines as well as other parts of the healthcare system. And so when we think about, you have 2/3 of our adult population in the US that regularly take at least one prescription medication, it's really critical that patients continue to have access. One way that we need to think about that is making sure that comprehensive drug coverage is available through the various channels that we have in the country, including government programs and the exchanges. So that is really critical. But when we look at the high price of prescription drugs and the burden that it places really on all consumers, but especially on those who are lower socioeconomic status and in underserved communities, access is a significant barrier. So we have to think about that as we think about benefit design, cost sharing models, and cost sharing in the past, of course, very well intended, but when we look at today's environment and these very high cost therapies, does it really make sense the way that we've traditionally managed that? So I think it brings to light a lot of questions about what we've done in the past in terms of benefit design and what we need to do going forward to kind of level the playing field and ensure that all Americans have access to the medicines they need at a cost they can afford. Certainly a lot of back and forth when it comes to pointing the finger at a particular stakeholder group or sector of the healthcare delivery system in terms of rising costs. And we see that all the time. It certainly often happens when you've got parties involved that are very passionate about the work that they do. And so rather than pointing the finger, we at AMCP think that we should be looking for solutions that will really make a difference long term to help patients afford their medicines. So let's don't accept the fact that one particular party is culpable and that there's one or a handful of causative factors. Let's look broadly at the problems and also the potential solutions as we continue to address this on behalf of our patients. So from our vantage point here at AMCP, we work to engage with stakeholders from across the healthcare ecosystem. And we think the answer isn't quite as linear as it might seem, or as we might like it to be. We often pull together groups of stakeholders in a partnership forum that we call it, to really collaborate and come up with solutions to issues, rising costs, as well as some other issues that patients face in accessing their medicines. And that's why we place so much emphasis as an organization on convening these stakeholders, providing forums and an opportunity where stakeholders can speak in a safe space and represent their sector of the healthcare community, coming together to discuss issues and putting forward creative solutions. We've held 2 partnership forums in the past on the rising cost of what we call high investment therapies. So those really unique therapies that come to market with 6- and 7-figure price tags. What do we need to do long term to make sure that our patients have access to those innovations? And our way of addressing that, coming up with solutions, is really to bring all the stakeholders together. And then, of course, as solutions arise, lend our voices to advocate on Capitol Hill for changes such as the MVP Act that I mentioned earlier, so that we can advance policy to ultimately benefit the patients that so desperately need these therapies.